As the dark of the night approaches, we arrive at our haunted destination. From the outside, the Yuma Pump House looks relatively normal, but on the inside lie countless stories of supernatural occurrences. Carol Engler greets us at the door. She owns the house and is no stranger to its paranormal happenings.
We used to have this kind of a lock inside the master bedroom, and it can only lock from the inside. And one day we came home and it was locked by itself all by the inside, so we had to crawl through the balcony.
Oh wow.
You know, and it's like there's nobody in there to lock it.
The pump house was built in 1921 to provide water for many local farmers. Beneath it lie 3 tunnels where we'll conduct most of our search for spirits.
These are the tubes, the pumps would be right here, and the water then would come from the canal. It would go underground, come up through these big, turbines and pump it all the way up, and it would go all the way up on top of Avenue A. And that was the first form of irrigation in 1921 in Yuma County.
Legend tells us one worker was killed during the pump house's construction.
He was killed in that room when they were putting the pumps in, and he got covered in the concrete. And it's hard to believe that, but yet I've had a couple of girlfriends that are kind of psychotic psychics, and they'll go in there and they'll just go, something happened in this room, I gotta get out of here. And they'll get cold and they'll just feel, crappy.
The house sat empty for years. Then in the 70s, it reopened as a restaurant. Many workers report many weird activities.
Some different corroborated stories had people complaining about bums sitting there in the dining area upstairs in the loft, which, at the time was a restaurant, and that's where the dining area was as well. And they discovered that they weren't really bums, they were apparitions of the workers, and whether it was the worker who was killed, but more than one person had complained about it. And when you look at the clothing of the workers in the 1920s, you would call them bums. And they were up there sitting in the dining area.
The restaurant eventually closed, and again the pump house sat empty. In 1984, Carol bought it, converted it into a home, and lived there for 20 years. During those 2 decades, she and her family had no shortage of eerie encounters.
My daughter, this was her room, and so she used to have stuffed animals all on top of that shelf. And one night they all came flying off in the bed, just all of them. My nephew was 3 years old, and he was visiting here with my twin sister, and he came up one morning and he looked like he hadn't slept at all. He was 3 years old, and I said, "Why are you so tired? What happened?" He says, "The ghost wanted to play all night long. He wouldn't let me sleep."
Eventually, Carol's family moved out. The pump house then became a group home for delinquent boys. After a fire, Carol and her husband remodeled and returned in 2009. In spite of their home's sinister reputation, they're proud to call the pump house home again.
I'll hear, noises, and he calls it settling, but it's more than just settling of the house. You hear bangs and doors or, things knocking, and I've had lights turn on and off by themselves, and it doesn't faze me. I think it's just kind of fun.
The Arizona Paranormal Research Society conducted an investigation on the house last year. Its members emerged with startling evidence. Now they're going back inside, and News 11's going with them. Carol says she wants some answers from the ghost.
This time I came back with a whole page of questions. I want to know who's here exactly, why they're here, what are they doing here, how long did they stay, why didn't they cross over.
When the sun sets, we'll head inside for an experience we'll never forget, and you won't either.